All right. Hey, everyone. Thanks for joining us for tonight's team call. We have a really exciting guest. I didn't stalk her, but I was at the leadership retreat 2 weeks ago. I was reading her book on the airplane. I tagged her in my Instagram stories and she actually responded back. So I was like, this chick is really cool. And I was like, you know what? Let me just ask her to see if she would hop on a team call. And she's like, yeah, reach out to my assistant. I'm like, sweet, I will. So that's what I did. So we're not going to talk, go over any intros or not intros, but any like beach body stuff. Today, we're just going to like jump right into Lori. So a little intro. Yes, I'll intro you, Lori. Don't worry. So Lori has a huge like entrepreneurial spirit. She actually has a network marketing company that she is a part of. She's a 7-figure earner there, so she knows her stuff. Obviously, she is a #1 best-selling author with Tribe Called Bliss that some of us are reading. She's a 10-time cover model, and she's a 3-time fitness world champion amongst everything else. She's freaking amazing. So Lori, thank you so much for hopping on. Like, this is super exciting for all of us, and I know we're all like ready to take some notes, and we can't wait to hear what you have to say.
Hi guys, I'm so excited to be here, especially with fellow network marketers, because I think the industry rocks. It truly is and was and always will be the platform in which I believe women and people can really build their dreams. So I'm super excited to be here. So thank you for that awesome intro. And I'm just excited to chat.
Awesome. Do you want us to like throw some questions at you, or like how do you want to work this?
Well, if we want to, did you want to talk about tribe today or connection or best uses of this group?
I would say like most of us want to like find our tribe, find the right people, and like still stay like authentic to ourselves. So I don't know, like, I know that's like 1,000,001 things, but maybe you can kind of like touch upon that.
Okay, cool. So I think I'm going to let you guide me with some Q&A of what you think everybody wants. So I will tell you that, first of all, just, I don't know how many of you, I can see most of you, I believe. How many of you have any idea who I am or my backstory? Raise your hand. Okay, so like one person. Okay, so I'm going to go into, a little bit of that so that we can get to know each other. First of all, I'm from a really, really small town in Upper Michigan. So those accolades in like the intro were super cool to hear, but I am like, let's go back. From super small town, I was actually homeschooled through high school. I was raised in a really restrictive religion. So for me, the reason that I'm so passionate about talking about tribe and being your authentic self and connecting to your authentic tribe is because I really did not have any friends, and I really struggled with building my tribe. And we all know that without connection, we all know that without a tribe, you really can't go anywhere in life or in your business, right? Because it's all built on connections. So the book was really about my journey to creating tribe. But what I want to talk about tonight is how you can do that as well, whether that's for your business or whether that's using this group and going even deeper with them. Because I really believe that if you can master relationships with anyone, with people, that you can master your business and you can master your life, right? Who agrees with that? Raise your hand. Because if you can think back to all the times that you've been stopped or you feel like you've been blocked, it's probably been because you're worried about judgment, you're worried about criticism, you're worried about leaving your tribe, you're worried about getting kicked out of your tribe, you're worried about disappointing people, you're worried about people thinking that you're crazy because of all of your ideas or whatever that looks like, or your big dreams. So I really want to chat with you about what that looks like when you're leaving different groups, or when you're transcending, or when you're moving into a new arena, and all the conversations around that. And that was because, like I said, from that small town, didn't have those people that I could necessarily hang out with. I was from, I was only allowed to hang out with people who were in my religion. There was like 2 girls. And I'm in a small town. So really my only tribe was that particular congregation. And when I turned 18 and decided that I really needed to go and figure out who I was and find myself and leave that particular religion, I had no one. I literally did not understand what was going on outside of that bubble. So that was the first time I left a tribe where when I didn't necessarily, or when I broke that agreement, and I'm talking about religion, but it doesn't matter, because this could be your family, this could be your work environment, this could be your group of work friends. Is this making sense? It doesn't matter what your tribe is. When you leave the pack and you decide to start changing, or when you start changing your goals, or when you start changing your mindset, that's when you're breaking a contract. And there's this gap of when you decide to go and be your authentic self and you start to decide to go and build your dreams, that a lot of us don't make it to the other side because we don't have the support group, right? We haven't set our new environment up to support us to go into the direction of our dreams. So your environment is stronger than your willpower. So for me, when I left when I was 18 years old, I was just seeking an environment that was more positive, because I also grew up in a family that struggled with their weight. My mom has 4 sisters and they're all 100 pounds overweight or more. My own sister is 100 pounds overweight. I was a chubby kid. And so for me, I didn't feel good all the time being in the environment that I was in. So I broke my parents' heart when I was 18, but I had to leave because I could not change and become the person that I knew I was supposed to in that environment. So I had to move away. But what happened is, you can change environments and it helps to an extent, but then I was incredibly lonely. Anybody been there? Trying to leave an environment or start to set goals and make big changes, and all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, this is so painfully lonely. And I'm also maybe like not showing up in the way that I want. Like maybe you're not feeling like you can, you're not accomplishing the goals that you want. Your to-do list is like mounting and you don't have the energy for it. You don't even know where to start. You're not finding the motivation. Who's there right now? Okay, you guys are good. Not a lot of people are there. Some people are sort of there. So tonight I really want to talk about kind of some of the agreements and also answer a lot of your questions. So I first want to see what questions are coming up, but I've created some agreements around what happens when you are creating new relationships, how to create new relationships, where to go, what conversations to have, and some of the key things that I believe are most important for you to be able to navigate relationships. But first of all, if there are some questions right now, I'd like to see just what's coming up for the group right now. Does anybody have one, or do you have one?
No, if anyone has any questions, you can obviously type it in the chat or just unmute yourself. But I think that would be an awesome place to start, I think, is people have that difficulty of like how to even like begin starting those relationships, like where to find them, how to even, I feel like people are so scared to even like talk to people. They almost like hold themselves back from being themselves.
Okay, so here's the deal, you guys, and I just want to be really real. Like, you have to create a better relationship with rejection and fear, because fear and rejection gets a really bad rap. It's like we're avoiding the number one thing that can actually change our lives the most. We're avoiding the number one thing that can change our lives the most, and that's going to the place of your fears and understanding that even all the people that you look at who you're like, oh my God, how did they get that? Or how are they where they're at? Or, oh my gosh, that must be amazing. Or look at that 7-figure earner. Or I wish I was in that group of girlfriends. You have to go and be willing to fail over and over. I do something scary every single day of my life. And in the beginning, it wasn't like that, right? I would do something scary every few weeks. I'd put it on the calendar. I'd have the date. I would try to hold myself accountable. If you don't have it on your calendar and you don't hold yourself accountable by telling a group and putting a lot on the line, and for some of you that might mean spending money on something. For some of you that might be announcing it to the world. Whatever that looks like, then you're not going to do it. If it's not in the calendar, and it's not premeditated, and you haven't thought of all of the obstacles that are going to come up around it, then you're not going to do it. Because what happens is that day comes, and if it's easy to cancel, what are we gonna do? We're gonna cancel it. Because we make these plans when we feel good, and then when it comes, we're like, oh, that doesn't feel good, I shouldn't do it. And we're like, it's too easy to be like, I'm not gonna do it. So you have to also, this is really, really important. This is something that I was just listening to a Lewis Howes podcast today. I think it's his latest podcast about how to truly make a habit stick. And I've always done this, but didn't know that it was actually scientifically researched on how you make something a habit. Well, I wanted to make it a habit about connecting with people, right? About doing scary things, about reaching out to people. And what I do is in the moment, it's like one of the most scary things that you can do, but I pull in all of the pain of the future of thinking if I'm not going to do it. So what you need to do is actually make it really real and in the moment and painful of what the consequences are if you don't start taking action. And then you also, at the same exact time, have to equally make it just as rewarding if you do take the action in the moment. So you need to bring in the thought of the pain if you don't do it, like really feel it. Be like, I'm going to continue to live this way. Nothing is going to change. I'm going to feel like I settled. I fast forward literally to my deathbed. I'm like, am I really going to die without having done this thing or showing up in this way or having felt fulfilled or having been like settled for having all of these gifts inside of me and not using them? Like at the end of my life, whatever you believe, I don't care what you believe. For me, you know, I don't want to look at whatever the end looks like and say to my creator, like, yeah, sorry, you gave me all these gifts and these tools and I lived in this amazing country where I had this freedom, but I decided to be like, nope, you didn't give me what you gave her. So that's truly not the case, but I make that so real in my life that I'm like, okay, you can do some hard things. You can do this thing right now. And I also make it equally as rewarding if I do it. So I start thinking about, if I do this, what will happen? Okay, well, this is the beginning of, I know that this feeling might feel painful right now, but I know that no pain really, is lasting. I know that this is just a muscle. I know that in order to do this, that it makes the next one easier and then the next one easier. And this is going to become who I am. I just have to begin. So does that make sense? Okay, so what happens is that we don't pull in that pain ever. And we just go right to the moment of, I'm uncomfortable. I'm going to stay in this like kind of uncomfortable comfort because it's familiar. So you have to start breaking that pattern. So for me, sometimes what I'll do is like, I will like pattern interrupt. I will be like, no, I'm not going to do this again. Like I'll actually slap my hand. So I am like, whoa, I'm doing it again. I'm settling again. I'm not going to do this again. I'm going to take action. You guys know who Mel Robbins is? Yeah. Okay. So if you don't know who she is, she's this amazing author who wrote this book that's like all the rage. It was all the rage last year because, or the year before that. Basically it's like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Do the scary thing because otherwise you're going to be stuck again. So it's like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go and do it. And that's what I do a lot of times. It's like if I'm sitting on an email that I'm like, ooh, I'm not sure. I'm like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, send. And I walk away. I'm like, oh God, what's going to happen? And it doesn't matter. You're going to get rejected. You're going to fail. I get rejected every day. Like you guys, when I was writing my book, I got rejected by 21 publishers. And finally the 22nd one was like, okay, maybe we'll look at it. And this is so normal. So creating that different relationship with failure is so huge for connecting with people. If you don't know where to go to connect with people, I'm going to challenge you on this because I want you to really start looking at the fact that if you're saying you don't know, part of the problem is just not taking ownership. And that's really powerful to know, right? Like, okay, if I'm saying I don't know where to go, part of my problem is that I'm not actually working hard enough. And if you want to know what successful people are doing, they're taking massive ownership over their life. They're never saying I don't know anymore. Never, ever, ever. There is a Google search bar on your computer, and you can Google, what do I do first if I want to make a friend? And you'll find it. Like, you can literally Google anything. So one of the first things that I do is say, am I taking ownership over this thing that I'm pretending to not know how to do? So what are you pretending not to know how to do? That's a question I ask myself because I'm like, oh, I'm pretending to not know how to reach out to a bigger platform and ask if I can speak on that stage, or start asking someone how they got on that stage, or start asking, what do I do if I want to write a book? Who do I first reach out to? So there's so many different things that are going on right now that first is taking ownership is number one. Number two, when you're looking at where to go to start your tribe, it depends on what your actual intention is. So are you starting a tribe because you want to build your business? Raise your hand if that's the case for most of you. Okay, cool. Or are you starting a tribe because you want more support in your life? Because these are two different tribes. Raise your hand. More support. Okay, so I'll talk to both. But first I want to talk about start your business, because I know what all of you do. And that would mean that you want to start seeking people who actually want to change their lives. Am I right? Because a lot of times what happens in network marketing, especially health companies, is we're like, oh, I'm going to go to that person because they need this, except they're not ready to change their life yet. Who's done that? Raise your hand. Okay, they're not going to start with you. Like, you can tell them about it, but they're not ready. So in any business, right? Like if I was selling computers, I'm not going to go somewhere to places where I don't think the computer could benefit people and that they want it and they have the money to buy it. Does that make sense? I'm going to start really getting intentional about who are my people exactly. So if your people are, if your company is health conscious and also people who want to make money, you're going to need to go to people who already have they already think that they want to make money, or they already have a semi-healthy money mindset. You don't have to do all of this low-hanging fruit work in order to start doing what you want to do. So if you're going to get intentional, this is what I did with my business, you guys, which we are and have been for years, top 20 and sometimes top 15 in our company, years and years. And this is because I've gotten really intentional with who I want to bring in. I want to bring in health-minded people. I want a team of people who absolutely want to change their lives. And I want a team of people who want to make money and want to help people make money, right? Are we on the right track with where you guys are in your business? Raise your hand if I'm talking to you. Okay, cool. So I want to make sure that this topic is like for you guys. So what I did is I was like, where are these people hanging out? Where are they going? And what are they already doing? So when I started writing those things down, I'm like, okay, well, they're in these workout classes. Okay, well, what would I need to do to actually start connecting with people? Because I know you guys know this, but network marketing does not happen on that first connection. Like, hi, you look fit, or you look like this, or you would look like you want to make money, or you're a business person, you should be in my business. Like, it's not really how it works. It's more like building that relationship for the first few times, right? So what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to start being a regular in these different groups, or these business groups, or at these different workout places. And I'm going to make my face show up for a bit so that I don't seem like, hey, I'm just popping in because I want to get people, or I want to tell you about my business, or I want to tell you about what I'm doing. I'm going to start building that relationship. And I understood this early on, that you have to have the trust factor first. And I know you've probably heard this a million times, but be the person that people want to go to when they think of health, wellness, or business. So how do you be that person? Well, I want you to go look at what you're posting online. I want you to go look at how you are when you're out and about. I want you to look at how you're presenting yourself. I don't mean you have to like look amazing and have your makeup on all the time, but I am saying, how are you showing up? Because your energy speaks louder than how you're physically showing up ever. Like, I will always give myself an energy adjustment. So not an attitude adjustment, but an energy adjustment. When I'm walking into something, when I'm walking into a room or a group, like, I'm always saying, how can I add value? Or how can my energy add value to this? Or how can I show up for someone? Or what does this group need the most? Or how can I connect with someone? So that's something really huge for me, is that before I even go to Soul Cycle, which I've met so many people who are now in my business from there because I started showing up there regularly. And then I started saying, like, how am I showing up when I'm here? Like, am I a happy person? Am I someone that these people want to be around and work with? How many people on here want to like join someone's business or be around someone simply because their energy feels so good? Raise your hand. Okay, awesome. I was like, no one. Okay. Everyone does raise their hand. So this is huge. This is huge because I want you to think of the main people who you adore and you're like, I would run through a wall for this person. This is someone that I really look up to. It's because their energy is typically always on, or you feel good around them, or they're adding value. So that's something that you can do, is really start looking at how you're showing up in those places if you want to start building a tribe for that reason. And then once you've become someone who's been around for a little while, this can happen rather quickly. It doesn't have to take months, but it could be a week or 2 weeks or whatever that looks like. You have to start knowing what your intention is in that group or at that place. If you meet someone and you want them in your business, or you're interested in that, and you want to build a tribe for that, something that I started doing was really practicing at home, like with my husband or with a friend or just on paper, what felt good for me, like a script of what's an intentional way that I can connect with this person that's not too awkward, that doesn't pigeonhole them and also lets them off the hook, but lets them know like, hey, I think you're amazing. I'm interested in connecting. Because what happens is a lot of times when we go in to meet someone, we don't have a clear intention and we don't have a clear script. So something that I really started thinking about when I was writing my book, because it's about how to make intentional connections. So what I started to think about was, okay, let's go back to, when I was learning sales. And sales is just closing people. And I believe relationships is closing people, right? We're just closing people. Like, we're closing them on, do you like me? Do you like what I have to offer? Are you interested in what I have to offer? So I was like, I had no idea. It's just like dating too. Like, all relationships are the same. We're basically selling ourselves, and then we're kind of like giving an offer at the end, right? Do you want to connect? Are you interested in this? Are you interested in that? So let's think of sales. None of us, for the most part on here, knew how to do sales if we hadn't seen it first. If we hadn't really seen a masterful sales process first or been taught it. Am I right? Raise your hand if you're like, I didn't really understand sales until someone actually brought me through sales. So some of my first jobs were in sales, and we had no idea how to do it, right? Like, you go in and you have to go for sales training for like weeks or months. And the thing that I first learned was, okay, here's some scripts. Here's what you can say. Here's how to overcome objections. Here's the main things that are going to come up. And then here's how you can try to do a soft close. And then you can kind of work into more of a hard close. Okay, well, this is all conversations. It's kind of like that intro, that connection, that middle point, like what you have to offer. And then you're going to try to do somewhat of a soft close. So if you're not doing this, a lot of times what happens in network marketing or even tribe building is you're like, okay, I made the connection, but nothing happened. And I'm like, well, did you ask them to go do something, or did you tell them what you were doing, or make sure you had some sort of like commitment? And they're like, no. Okay, well, you're never going to get a tribe, or you're never going to do anything with your business. So when you're going and building for your business, I would write out a script that feels really good. And this is what I did in network marketing. It was like, hey, I think that you are absolutely amazing. I love this, this, and this about you. Or I think that you're, I've just noticed that we have this, this, and this in common. And I really think this is amazing about you. I'll cut to the point. I'm looking for some incredible women that I would love to just connect with. This could be once a month, or I'm looking for someone I'm looking for relationships just where I can connect with once a month, because, I'm looking to support your business. I would love for you to support mine, or see how we can support each other. If you're down with this, it could look like coffee once a month for an hour after a workout, or whatever you want at this point to start building a relationship, but let them off the hook. So always tell them your intention, tell them what you're looking for. Always give them an out, like, no worries either way. Here's what I'm doing anyway. I'm building this community anyway. Would love to connect with you if this is something that you're interested in. If not, no worries. This is the commitment, right? Because what people are afraid of, here's the obstacle that people run into. People are going to say no to you if they don't know how long your meeting's going to be, or how long it's going to be, what you want from them, what your intentions are, why, and if you don't let them off the hook. Like, they're just going to say no because they're like, oh my God, this woman's going to want, hours from me. She's going to want to be my best friend. What does this look like? I don't know what she wants. This isn't clear. You have to practice crystal clear communication, as my friend says, crystal clear communication. Let them know everything that you're doing. And then from there, that's when you start making those connections. You guys, I just repeated this over and over and over again. I did friend dates like twice a week for like 6 months. It was the craziest thing I've ever done. It was like dating women for like 6 months over and over and over. And I built this incredible community, built awesome businesses because I just kept using this script that I found. So, start practicing with it. It was so awkward at first, and I would DM people as well. Like, I would search hashtags of women's events in my area. I would search hashtags of different, like, what's it called? Orange theories in my area, and be like, hey, I do Orange Theory too, because I also did that. It's so cool to see your hashtags every Monday. I know that we're doing the same workout. Let me know if there's any way I can support you. Anything like that. Like, it feels so awkward at first. And start making those connections. So if you're like, oh, that sounds hard, it's because it is hard. If you're like, oh, that sounds uncomfortable, yeah, it's terribly uncomfortable. But I want to be, you will be rewarded in your life over and over and over again for doing the tough things. Not just monetarily, which, let me tell you, the more tough things I did, the more I just noticed the money would come in. And then the more tough things I did, the more I noticed I felt fulfilled. The more tough things I did, the more I noticed that my relationships were getting deeper and deeper, and I was feeling more connected. So what do you think I started relating doing challenging things to? Reward. I was like, oh, when my life is easy, I'm depressed. I'm bored. I'm eating more. I'm resentful of people. I mean, straight down to, like, I have no boundaries because boundaries are tough to set. I'm living someone else's life. When I'm doing tough things every day, I'm not resentful of people because I'm setting boundaries. I'm creating the life I want. I'm proud of myself. I'm feeling more fulfilled. So I created such a beautiful relationship with pain. Like, let's be super honest. Like, there's two things that are motivators. It's pain and pleasure. And, pain was a huge motivator for me. And I think that it gets a really bad rap. So I want you guys to really start thinking about the fact that we are not taking ownership is causing us a lot of pain. And it's completely up to us to start deciding that. So as far as, did that answer your questions around how to create tribe with your business? Raise your hand if that's a yes. Who do you think this is a good point for questions around tribe with your business? Because then I can move into the section of tribe for support in your life.
Yeah, anybody have any questions for Lori? Anyone? I just have to say, I love when you said like low-hanging fruit, because I know, like, when I first started this business 5.5 years ago, that's what I went for. And then I was like, this isn't, like, I'm getting people to say yes, but then they're quickly leaving. It's because it was easy. It was low-hanging fruit. So I love that you just pointed that out. And you have to be bold, and you have to do the scary things and ask the people you don't want to ask, but know that those are going to be the right people if you do ask them, and have the courage to do that.
Oh my gosh. And now it's like, so you guys, network marketing is so beautiful and so acceptable. I feel like I feel like every single person on Instagram is now a hashtag girl boss. So, like, they're going to respect you no matter what. And if not, let me tell you, they're on a journey that you don't want in your life, and that's fine too. Like, I'll have so many women in other network marketing companies message me and try to, like, recruit me, and I give them massive high fives. I'm like, I freaking love you. Keep doing this. I'm so glad you reached out to me because I know it wasn't easy. Keep going because I so respect you and I adore the industry. Like, rock on, girlfriend. I think you are amazing. So, and then the other people, like, when I had to reach out to people who scared the crap out of me, it's like, most of the time they're so insanely nice, it doesn't even matter. And yes, I've had some people who I looked up to so much say terrible things. Like, I can't believe these women who I used to respect are in network marketing and trying to take money and prey on all these people. And I was like, they just don't get it yet. They don't get what is possible, and they don't get what you're helping people with. And they don't get that by them saying that, they're actually stopping people from stepping into their highest calling. Like, it's not up to you to decide if you're, oh my God, I was about to recite a poem that I just wrote. It's not up to you to decide if your dream is worth killing. It's not. That was placed on your heart from something far bigger than you. So stop thinking that people can take you down. It's virtually impossible. It's a choice to decide if you're going to let someone's opinion of you change you. That's your choice. You're only what you think you are. So when you're committed to that story and the fact that with money and with this company and with your purpose and with whatever you believe, that's how you change the world, and that's how you step into your highest potential. So keep going, keep going, keep going. Second part, I don't know how long this call was. Was it 30 minutes or an hour?
No, we could be here. An hour is good.
Okay. I was like, am I going over my time? All right. How we doing? We all okay? Okay, awesome. So building your supportive tribe. So this one's, I'm super passionate about, because if you do not build a tribe that supports your journey, you're going to go back to the limiting beliefs of the group. Like, you're only going to go as far as the limiting beliefs of the group you hang around most. So for some of you, that's a really tough thing to hear, because you're like, well, that's my family and a lot of my best friends. So what do I do? Just leave my family? No, but you do need to limit your time around them. You do need to limit the time that you are listening to the negative voices, or you need to have tough conversations. So I've had to have both. I've had to limit time with people, even though they were my family. And I've also had to have tough conversations with the family that I have to see more often, and say, I love you, but for where I'm going and what I'm doing, this is not a belief that I can have. So when this comes up, I'm either not going to talk about it, or I would appreciate if you would stop saying this about who I am, or about my beliefs, or about this company, or about my business. Here's the thing about tough conversations, you guys, is that they're not just had once, right? It's not just like one conversation fixes it. You're like, there, I had the tough conversation, Lori. Why isn't it working? They said it again. And I'm like, okay, I don't know about you, but my tough conversation with my family lasted about 7 years. Like, legit 7 years of tough conversations, until finally one day I was like, wait, they haven't said that I'm ridiculous for a while. This is awesome. So I'm just committed to continuing to say, you have the first tough conversation, and then you have to keep going. You have to decide that this is who you are, and you're going to continue saying, no, I'm not going to tolerate that, right? You deserve the life you tolerate. You have to just know, if you're tolerating the conversation, you're allowing it. So you're showing up in this reality that maybe you don't like because you're allowing it. This is a really tough thing to hear, because in my life where there's areas that I don't love, it's because I'm tolerating it. It's because I'm not willing to have that tough conversation. It's because I've gotten so used to being uncomfortable and annoyed and resentful with someone that that's now where I'm at all the time, right? And it's until we break that pattern or have those tough conversations that it's going to remain the same. So as far as your tribe, I view it a lot just like diet. You don't want to eliminate things right away or say you can't have them, but what you do want to do is crowd out your plate so much with good food that you kind of just don't have room for the negative anymore, right? We kind of just don't have room for a lot of the other stuff. It's like, oh, I'm so sorry that I can't make it to, Wednesday girls' night again, because now I have this networking group that I'm going to. Or now I created this women's circle of positive women, one by one, that I've invited to sit and talk about how we can support each other's goals every Wednesday night. Or, oh, I'm sorry, I can't do that anymore because now I'm doing this workout class because my health goals are so important. You guys have to come up with something. so that you are not falling back into the trap of that environment that's stopping you from reaching your goals, and that you're putting yourself in rooms that are scary to be in, but they're up leveling, right? They're thinking bigger than you. No matter what I'm doing in my life, I'm looking at how many rooms I'm in where people are thinking bigger than I am, because your ideas can't expand past the room that you're in. Does that make sense? You will never, if you're the smartest person in the room, or if you're the woman who's always giving the advice, you're not growing. You need both. You need to be in both rooms. You need to be giving and you need to be growing. So you need to make sure you're in both of those rooms. So as far as building that tribe, what I did is, this is outreach again. So it's actually in my book. I put scripts in my book. You know, I have a group of women that I meet with every Thursday via Zoom. Every other Thursday. I've done this for the last 4.5 years now. I think it's almost 5 years. We didn't know each other. I just knew of one of them online, and she met the other one who got introed into our group of 3. She met her in Costa Rica, like on the beach, and just had her phone number. And so this woman at the time had reached out to me, and she was like, hey, just want to make a connection. Like, I see that we're in the same, you know, we both did like fitness and mindset. And at the time, we were both interested in masterminds. We had heard this word through the Jack Canfield book. It was like all these guys that we knew were doing these business masterminds. And I was like, you know what? I really want to be supported in business and life. And I was like, hey, we should start this mastermind where, you know, 1 hour every other week, we just get on, we abide by the rules. It never goes 1 minute over. Everybody has equal time to share. We say what's up for us, and we ask how we can be supported or if we need help within that time. And she was like, yeah, that sounds good. And we're like, okay, here's the thing though. Like, we want to be really committed to this. Like this, we don't want this to fall by the wayside. Okay, so we need to be committed. We need to make sure we never go a minute over. We need to make sure that we're not missing this, because that's how this will fall apart, right? If we're not super committed. And she was like, okay, let's do it. And we said we should do this with 3 people. And she goes, okay, I know this other girl who I think is starting these businesses. She seems like a great fit. You want to try it? We're like, all right, let's do it. So from there, that's when this whole thing started. And I'm telling you, it was completely life-changing, and it's how I started my book. But it started with a simple conversation, which it goes into full detail there. I'm not going to go into too much detail tonight. And I also talk a lot about this on my podcast. If you don't want to get my book, that's free. So you can go to earnyourhappy.com. I share a lot of tips every single week. But it was the outreach of saying the intention, right? This is what it looks like. This is the commitment. I don't care either way, but here is exactly what I'm looking for. I want this to be an equal energy exchange, and I want this to be equally mutually beneficial for all parties included, support-wise. And that's really how that started for me. And that's also how literally thousands of tribes now from my book have started, where they're meeting every other week for an hour, supporting each other. And they're saying that these are the most connected, deep relationships they've ever had in their life, because they're really intentional. And I give you guys agreements in the book on what happens when problems arise, right? Because a lot of the time, the problem is something from our past, or it's us, or we don't know how to have a tough conversation around it. Because I don't know about you, but I was raised to want to people please, to not say when something upset me, to not really know how to navigate when things came up that I didn't feel were acceptable. Instead, I kind of used to walk away or be like, oh, well, she's out of my life. Okay, well, we're done here. Or, you know, not knowing how to have the conversations that keep relationships going. If you are in this business of network marketing or of friendship, you are absolutely going to have problems with people you love. And that's why so many people don't have lasting relationships or lasting businesses, especially in this business, is because they don't know how to navigate when problems arise. I have been through my fair share of like dramatic problems in network marketing. And I can tell you, if I didn't start understanding how to navigate these relationships, I would have lost half my team. Who knows these stories, right? Like all of a sudden a rift comes and it's like you lose half your team, or this person's upset, or this isn't working, or there's so many things that can come up. So navigating relationships and understanding how to have tough conversations is a really, really big one. Does anybody have any questions so far?
Everyone is super quiet. I think we're all like soaking it in.
All right, you guys, I am not sure where else you want me to go on this one. So if you have any questions, I would love to know them, or any comments or anything that's coming up in your business. We can chat about that as well.
Guys, don't be scared. We have like a freaking amazing person here that is giving her time to us. So if you guys don't have any questions, I'm not going to hold her.
Otherwise, I love that book, Girl Wash Your Face, too. I just interviewed Rachel Hollis. She's amazing. I think she's actually going to be at one of my book tours. So she's freaking awesome. And she talks about the lies that we tell ourselves. And I think that's one of the biggest parts of it, exactly what we were talking about in the beginning of this conversation, is it's just every single day we're also pitching ourselves what we believe about ourselves. So it's kind of like, what's the story that you're believing about yourself around what is possible for you? And I always think of that, because sometimes when I hear in my head, like, oh my God, who do you think you are? What do you think is possible for yourself? I'm like, I'm actually pitching myself right now a who do you think you are story, when I could be pitching myself a this is why you have to do this story, or this is who you know you are, or this is who you know, how you know what is possible for you. Because either way, they both, raise your hand if you feel like both can feel like a lie. You're pitching yourself a positive story, that can feel like a lie. Okay, you're pitching yourself a negative story, you can actually be like, this is actually a lie. I'm believing a negative story right now. Can you see how that's possible? So it's like we're always constantly pitching ourselves over and over. So when I catch myself pitching myself a negative story, I'm like, I'm actually selling myself, like being a salesperson on the negative right now, when you can switch it. And, you know, I think I've done almost 300 interviews of successful people now. And every single one of them does this. They're like, I realize that no matter what, at the end of the day, we're all selling ourselves a story no matter what. It's all made up anyway. None of it's real. Like, none of what you're thinking is real. But the only thing that starts to become reality is what you're thinking the most. Does that make sense? None of it's real, but the only thing that becomes reality is what you're thinking the most. So just let the positive outweigh it. Tell your story, the freaking made up lie about being Wonder Woman, about being the most brilliant, speaker, about being the most successful network marketer. Because if you tell yourself that enough, that's what starts to sink into your reality. So, all right, you guys, I don't see any questions up here. So if you want any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to let you finish up with any questions that you have.
Lori, one question I have, your podcast. What's the name?
The podcast is Earn Your Happy, and you can go to earnyourhappy.com. Whoever loves Rachel Hollis, she's coming on in just a few weeks. But you guys, the podcast is really about facing your fears, and a lot about being unapologetic about your goals, and about, we talk a lot about making money, making connections with other people, and just reaching your highest potential. So that is my favorite zone, is rewiring and reprogramming your mind. Oh, who likes Joe Dispenza? Does anybody know who that is?
Don't know.
Okay, like one of the masters of how to rewire your brain. He came into my world about 6 or 7 years ago, and once I started learning how to do it, my whole life shifted. So I'm talking to him on the podcast coming up in about 4 weeks. That's going to be a really amazing one. So look for his name. Otherwise, you guys can start looking up his stuff right now. Really, really miraculous stuff. Let's see. I don't think it just says, would someone share the note? Oh, what's his name? Joe Dispenza, Dr. Joe Dispenza. And actually, I have his book because he was just here. This is one of his books. Can you see it?
Yeah. Cool. I like it. How do you lose your mind?
Breaking the habit of being yourself, because that's all it is. So good. And then the other resource that I loved was Lewis Howes' podcast. And that one is how to actually build a habit. So the science behind it. So breaking a lot of myths around like, well, this is hard, or this is why I can't do it, or I can't ever keep something going. That was really powerful. I think it's one of the latest ones. All right, you guys. I'm like so freaking grateful. Yeah, thank you for having me.
We totally appreciate it. This is amazing, and I'll shoot this out to the rest of the team that wasn't on. So it's gonna live on for a little bit. So thank you.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. It was so great. I love what you're doing. Keep going. And I love seeing all of your faces, and I appreciate you.
Have a good night, everyone. Bye.
Yeah.